I'm Elamin Abdelmahmoud, and this is Commotion. And look, I appreciate that not everyone who listens to this show is chronically online. Regrettably, I am. And if you're not, you may have missed some drama with the singer Sombr. And here's the thing. I can hear someone going, hang on, I don't even know who Sombr is. And I hear you, even though he's headlining SNL this week. But here's one of his big songs. This is Back to Friends. Okay, so now you know what Sombr sounds like. Let's get you caught up on the drama. He's 20 years old, and he was recently dragged on TikTok by someone who went to his shows, and she said this was one of her worst experiences ever. And then he responded, and there's so much to get into. Emily Hanscap is here. Emily, I'm excited to do this, but also I'm so exhausted by it. How are you, pal?
I'm ready to dig into this.
Let's go. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's start. I'll lay down the scene here. So there's this woman. She's a disgruntled fan. She's 25 years old. You know, her name is Meg. Mm-hmm. Her username Meganator, and then she posted this TikTok after going to one of Sombr's shows.
He proceeds to make a bunch of niche meme references for like the 12 to 16-year-old age range group. And I only understand them because I'm chronically online, but every other adult in the room, including my boyfriend, is like, why is he speaking in tongue? Like, what is he saying right now? 30 minutes in, he cuts all the music and he's like, we're now going to have the Sombr dating show. Raise your hand and come on up on stage if you want to call your toxic ex. Make sure it's toxic and make sure there's somebody who's going to pick up. Again, all the tweens.
So she's 25 and she's mad at him for being 20 and not being the adult in the room. That is the rough story of what's going on here. Tell me a little bit more about what Meg said. What was her beef?
Yeah, so I think, like, asterisks here, we're going to be talking about age way more than we normally would because it's such a big part of the story by them.
Yeah.
So basically, she was saying she went to the show, she loved his music when she walked in, and she said it was, quote, like a middle school dance because it was mostly tweens and their parents, and that was reflected in Sombr's performance in some ways. That was all, 6-7 references, very chronically online, but tween chronically online content. Not only that, she also added that he was inappropriate. So knowing that the age of the fans, that he was doing things like asking them to bark and having some sexual innuendos that she didn't agree with. And then maybe the third element of her critique was that he simply wasn't good live, that he didn't have a quality as a performer. So that was the sort of sandwich of negative reviews that she gave this show.
I can understand this idea of, like, it makes me a little bit uncomfortable that I'm the oldest person in the show, and that would sort of give you all kinds of reactions.
It's not a fun feeling.
Maybe sort of like leave you a bit of discomfort. But, like, what was the general reaction to her posting this video and being like, I have some thoughts, let's get them out?
Yeah, so I think, like with anything, there was backlash. If you're going to have it come out strong, people will come out strong back. The backlash was more so that what did you expect? If you are chronically online, you know that he doesn't take himself seriously. You know that he speaks in quote-unquote tongue, 6-7 memes, all of it. You know that that's who he is, so how could you have been surprised?
Yeah.
But I would say that a fair amount of the response was in support, specifically with the argument that what he was doing on stage was inappropriate for his fans. And then this question of what an artist's responsibility is when they have a young fandom. Well, what is that? He's a 20-year-old man. Yeah. So if he's on the MTV VMAs and having women licking his torso, is that irresponsible? Or is he allowed to do what he's doing currently? So it was that was the back and forth dialogue there.
Now, look, a 25-year-old going to a concert having a bad time, that's not enough to make a story viral. But then Sombr weighs in, and I just want to play a bit of that right now.
I totally respect people having opinions, but I am a 20-year-old artist, freshly 20. And if you're 25 years old and you're going to come to my concert and not expect people younger than you to be there when I, the artist, am 5 years younger than you, it's just a skill issue. Also, like, the jokes thing, like, you had to have known about my online presence before coming to my concert. Anyone who knows me knows I've never uttered a serious word in my life.
Worst response. Just, where's the PR team?
He's freshly 20, okay?
Freshly. Not just 20, freshly.
What do you think of his response? Go.
Oh, no. I can't. Okay, the reason I can't with this is because the crux of the argument is so based in age. And I have such a problem with the discourse in music that you're either too old or too young to recognize quality.
I can feel the geese pivot coming.
Oh, that's exactly where I'm going.
Go.
Because the fact that Sombr is not that at his peak yet, let's say, as a performer and artist, is not, I'm not saying that because I'm a millennial in my 30s, and that is not a fact because he is 20. It is because of a skill
issue, if you will.
To quote him.
Yeah.
And so this idea that you don't understand me because you're 25 apparently, or any age, is actually what fractures audiences so much in general within music.
100%.
It's what alienates people. It's what makes people feel like they can't get into something because they've gotten too old or they don't understand it. And that is, I think, a toxic and unhealthy attitude to have around music. So I feel this is a very bad and poor response, but it's an unfortunate perpetuation of that idea.
So let's land the pivot, because like, what you're talking about is like someone who's also in his age bracket. You're talking about a band that is roughly in his Sombr's age bracket, but they're appealing to all different kinds of generations. Like that's the Geese pivot. Do you want to get into it? Go.
Okay, if you're going to let me talk about Geese, because I guess what I'm saying...
I always want to let you talk about Geese.
So yesterday, there was a BBC Radio 1 Geese session. Geese the band, from New York City. They are also a Gen Z band, and that's why I'm making this comparison. And the most popular comment, I love to go into the comments, was someone writing, "I'm an 82-year-old man. I know that this music isn't meant for me, but it really moves me," something along those lines. And therein lies everything, like this whole crux of the argument, which is that music should be for everyone if it's quality. Yes, there is an argument to be made that who is on TikTok and how is he reaching people, and maybe certain age brackets are not as much or are more so there. Yeah. But the actual argument of quality being related to youthfulness and that is kind of the lens you need, I'm so against and in disagreement with that.
I think the one added dimension to this, though, is that Sombr gets his start on TikTok, right? Yeah. So like sure, he went mainstream in the past like maybe year and a half or so. That matters to the story because he's bringing a certain subset of audiences who are maybe like a little bit more ready to speak to him, and they are based in TikTok, and they do tend to sort of skew younger. And so if he's saying, "I'm only trying to talk to those people," there seems to me that's a self-limiting expression, right? It's sort of trying to say like, I only speak to these people, and if you don't get it, that's a you problem. Yeah. What do you see as a problem with that?
I see that, well, one, it's very limiting for the audience, and for the artist, I should say, because what are you implying there? Like, I understand that every artist does have appeal, but when you're leaning so directly into that alienation, you might think that it's great because I don't agree that you should try to speak to everyone, but I think there's actually an equal issue when you're so specific in who you're speaking to that you lose sight of perhaps the art itself, because you're like, they like memes, they like when I laugh, they like when I bring people up and do the toxic dating bit, then you do lose track of your art. He's so young. He has so much to figure out, which is a whole other part of this conversation.
Yes.
The TikTok to stardom pipeline is an issue.
Get into it. What do you mean by that?
Well, basically, I think that with virality, the music industry is very slowly realizing, but not quick enough, that when you explode overnight as an artist and you're young, even if you're not young and you're just starting out, and then all of a sudden you are one of the most famous people, you are headlining SNL, you haven't gotten the time to, develop that skill set, even figure out who you are. And that's an issue here that we're seeing. He doesn't quite know who he is yet, and that's okay because he's 20 and he's new. Yeah. But with this new TikTok pipeline, you basically go from being a kid like him writing in your basement to performing on SNL within a year. And that's just not a healthy, sustainable system or infrastructure for the industry, really.
There's also the added dimension of like, you don't necessarily know how to fill out an arena, right? No. Like, because if you write a song and it goes viral on TikTok and a label calls you and says, "Buddy, you are ready for a tour," you might not be ready for a tour. You might not know how to sort of fill out an arena. You might not know how to sort of stage your show because you literally were just in your bedroom 5 minutes before that.
And you shouldn't be blamed for that. Yeah. I don't blame him for that.
No.
But the denial of it does simply make no sense because it is a fact that nobody would be able to do that. Right. And he cannot.
Right. It might be a skill issue. You gotta just build the skill, if you will. Sombr did recently win an MTV Video Music Award, and he performs this weekend at SNL. He's not going anywhere, but we're also seeing the sort of other rising stars go through some kind of similar stuff to this. Like he's not the only one at all. But what do you think this moment will do for him? Do you think he's going to learn the other lesson, which is like, boy, maybe I have to restructure my live show so that it's not just this?
Well, the unfortunate thing about when you're supporting the idea of an echo chamber in your fandom, which he is that you will perpetuate that. So I think that there is equal chance that he's saying, I'm only speaking to the people who like me, and then you're not. And as much as you shouldn't try to please anyone, that's dangerous because I can see we see ego being developed. Understandably, when you're 20-year-old and everyone's, swooning over you, that will happen.
Yeah.
So I fear that there is a chance he could lean into the echo chamber a bit, but there's also a wonderful chance he could, get feedback from the right person. It hits him right and well. Let's see on SNL on Saturday.
Yeah.
How he has evolved as a performer even in the last few months since this controversy,
To bring it back to the music for a moment, like Sombr is an artist that I'm musically curious about. I think he's got some interesting instincts to explore. I think, like I've heard the first few songs that come out, kind of go like, these musical ideas with time, I'm interested in seeing where the sound or where these ideas sort of maybe go. Not now, but
you gotta cook a little more.
You gotta cook a little bit more. But I'm paying attention enough, that I'm like, I am genuinely curious, for example, about what he's going to do with a stage like SNL. Do you kind of go, okay, this is his chance to sort of like step back and listen and say, I have something to learn about how to sort of like fill out these spaces? Or are you like, I'm out actually, because based on your response to this moment, I'm going to dial back in way later. I'm not plugged in right now.
As a fellow chronically online person, I will be tuned in.
Yeah.
As of yet, I am not really that intrigued by his musical output artistically, but I also want to give him a chance because he is 20 years old and has a lot to figure out. I am open to being impressed. I'm open to having my mind changed. But at this point, I am not on the Sombr train. No.
Okay. That is a lovely place to leave it. Emily, you're the best. Thank you so much for being here, friend.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Of course. Emily Hanskamp is a freelance music journalist. She's based in Toronto. In the meantime, my name is Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This show is called Commotion. And hey, we'll see you soon.